Hey everyone, Al Fragnoli, League of Leaders. We are joined today by a special guest, Nick Beard. Nick is a sales and marketing manager for Cheboygan Brewing Company, a local Michigan company here. And he participates in ultra endurance, gravel, and mountain bike events throughout the course of the year. So, Nick, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with us today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Al. I appreciate it.
Well, we're excited to talk to you a little bit, Nick. Really want to pick your mind a little bit from some of your experiences in sales and marketing and leading people. Talk a little bit about leadership today, and then really talk about the mindset that it takes to be successful in these amazing cycling events that you do throughout the course of the year. So let's jump right into our first question that we have for you here. But you deal with tons and tons of different types of people that you encounter through your experiences as a sales and marketing manager. Talk to us a little bit about some of the traits, some of the characteristics that you think top leaders must possess to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny how you start to realize different personality types of people you work with and your partners with too throughout the day, and the best way to lead them. But what it ultimately comes down to for me is empathy, and being able to listen. I think there tends to be this notion that being a leader, you have to be strong, and with that comes aggression and straightforwardness. And in some cases, some people are led best that way, and in some instances, maybe that's what you need to do. If a boat's sinking, yeah, you don't maybe have time to be empathetic and cater to somebody's specific personality traits or their needs. But in today's world, hopefully you're not on a boat that's sinking. In that situation, you have time to work that out. But what I've noticed is that being able to listen to the person, be empathetic, and being able to relate to them, you're able to get the results that you want a lot more efficiently, a lot better that way. And it's also just kind of being a decent human being at the end of the day too, being able to listen and understand where somebody's coming from. There's this great visualization of and you may have seen it on Instagram or Facebook, but of somebody standing at the top of what looks like a big cube that's a concrete block, kind of whipping people to pull them forward. And that's like one style, and then the other is the leader is pulling from the front to achieve that task. So that's how I always kind of look at it. And even just off the top of my head, thinking back to my hockey days, which has given me a lot of the leadership qualities that I'm able to possess through my career and through life. Whenever I would take a step back and look, whether I was captain or not, but when it was my turn to say, hey team, what do we have to do to accomplish this goal and win the game, I would always take a step back and look at myself first and say, hey guys, this is what I got to do better. This is what I can do better. This is what I need to do. And then hopefully encourage conversation around that so that everybody else could say, hey, you know what? I could do this. I could, pull this slack better. And then ultimately just kind of making yourself available to people. Where do they need help, and finding that aspect, or I don't want to say weakness, but kind of get that, find that, or fine tune that with that person, and hopefully develop it further, or figure out where we can improve.
Nick, you mentioned a couple of really key things that stuck out to me. The big thing is you talked about empathy extensively, and I love the fact that you talked about that, because there's so much research out there now today that shows that the best leaders are truly empathetic to their people and their team. You talked about being able to relate to people. Each and every one of us has different things going on in our lives. We learn differently. We operate and function differently. It's important as a leader that we relate to each and every one of our people, and that we show a genuine interest and concern in what's going on in their day-to-day lives, right? And not just be concerned about their performance at work. It's the entire makeup of the individual that's critically important. You talked about listening. Again, that's a critical skill that I think a lot of leaders sometimes lose sight of, but really truly actively listening to your people and the words that are coming out of their mouth and what they're telling us as leaders is important. You talked about looking at yourself and wanting to really make sure that, hey, I can improve upon this, or I can do this better. That's really self-reflection, right? And that's critically important for all leaders to take time and really do. The best leaders are able to do that. The best leaders show empathy towards their teams. So I'm glad that you actually brought that up, because I do think that that's a characteristic sometimes that is missing, unfortunately, by some leaders. But it's not just about the numbers all the time. It's about the people. And when we take the time to listen to them, to relate to them, to show empathy, the long-term results, Nick, are going to be fantastic. So I love the fact that you talked about that. Thank you for sharing some of your experiences there. We're going to jump into what you do for essentially what started as a hobby and now has turned into essentially a lifestyle change, right? So as we mentioned, you're an avid cyclist. So talk to us a little bit about how you got involved several years ago with cycling and what you love most about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It started out, yeah, like you said, a hobby I did with my dad once a year, and came time to have our wedding, and he gave me his trainer, which funny enough, you now own, Al. So if you ever need help, you know where to find me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it started out, hey, I want to get in a little bit better shape for this wedding, and found out I absolutely love doing it and pushing myself. And along with that comes a lot of healthy lifestyle changes, because the lighter you are, the faster you are. And the thing that stood out to me was when I ride with my dad, that was fun, but you're not doing it enough to where I think you like experience that true bliss. Like, of course it's fun, you're with your dad, and there are blissful moments. But I just remember it occurred to me when he gave me his old mountain bike, and I remember taking it out on the trails for the first time again. And I'm 20, I'm getting old now, but 25, 24, 25, getting out on the trails again, from when I used to ride my bike all around the neighborhood. And I just remember in that specific moment, coming down a hill, wind in your face, trying, avoiding trees and stumps and all that. You feel like a kid again. You really do. You feel like you're riding till the street lights come on, and that for me is what really brought me back into cycling, I guess, and then just made me want to run from it. And then I saw it as a way to push myself more internally than externally. I've played sports, but I've never pushed myself that to that level physically, before. So that was a really good way to do that, and it kind of woke me up from there. Realized, hey, you've never seen how far you can push yourself.
I love it. I love some of the stuff you shared there, Nick. Thanks for sharing some of your journey and your background. I love the fact that you mentioned it brings you back to your childhood days, makes you feel like a kid again. It's so important, I think, when we get so busy and bogged down in our day-to-day grind and life, that you do things that genuinely make you happy, bring you back to those childhood experiences. So that's fantastic, and a very healthy lifestyle change. So kudos to you for doing that and making that a lifestyle choice now. So obviously with these bike races that you do throughout the year, I know you do 20 plus races every single year typically. They're incredibly demanding on the body. Nick, we're talking 200-mile races in some instances. So obviously it's physically demanding, physically draining, but it also takes a toll mentally. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about the mindset that somebody needs in order to achieve success and be able to complete these races and do them to the best of their ability.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even just the race itself too that puts that toll on you. It's the training day in, day out, the consistency of it, the nutrition, the sacrifice that you have to make. The late night outs are now somewhat few and far between. And you definitely always want to maintain a balance with that. But the biggest thing is could you train kind of erratically and maybe finish these races, absolutely. But if you want to succeed at these races, you need to train consistently. And as we know, with a busy lifestyle, full-time career, friends, family, etc., it's not always just convenient to jump on a 3.5 to 6 hour, bike ride, because that's really what it takes to be able to grind for 100 miles plus. So before the race even begins, you have those 5 a.m. wake up calls. You got to get up to fit in everything, and believe me, that's tough mentally, to start off on, initially. And then I feel like you kind of enter a honeymoon phase. You kind of get used to it. You're liking it. You're up early. This is cool. And then all of a sudden now it's like, you do wake up some days and you don't want to swing your leg over that bike. But every time I push myself to do that and I complete it when I thought I couldn't, I thought I couldn't do it. Even if I get on, am I going to be able to finish this workout? For the most part, 99.9% of the time I do. And I feel a lot better when I do. And then come race day, I think the biggest challenge with that is that you have so much on the line, right? You've invested your training days, you've sacrificed days maybe with friends or family or doing something else. There's always that trade-off of time, and there's a lot of factors that you can control. You've controlled your nutrition up until that point. You've controlled all your gearing and components and everything else, but there's the things that happen that you can't account for: unexpected crashes, flat tires, all of that. So you have to hone that in though, because you don't want that nervousness to impact you, and you don't want it to change your mindset or change you mentally, or throw you off mentally, is how I should put it. And so I think for me, kind of an aspect that I've tried to translate some of that nervousness into is excitement. Try to think on the start line, like, I'm excited about this, I'm not nervous about this, and try to translate some of that energy positively versus negatively. And so that way I start off the gate right on the right track. And then if things go wrong, it's a tough thing, because in order to kind of achieve your goal, you have to almost have to transition to a type A personality, like regimented. Okay, this is what I'm doing today, this is my schedule. But then on race day, you almost have to let go a little bit, because you can have your checkpoint lined up, you can have your nutrition dialed into what's in your water bottle, what's in your pocket, what you're eating, where your family's going to meet you, halfway through to refuel you, and get you what you need. But inevitably there's always something that's going to go not quite right, and knock on wood, it's been very not a huge deal for me. But you almost have to kind of let go and take it how you will at that point. And for me, it's the difficult part is I've never been this type of person. I've always been kind of very relaxed, nonchalant, and I'd say that's like my day-to-day personality. But I've never been like, okay, we're waking up tomorrow, we're riding the bike, we're doing this, we're doing that. So it's been a complete transformation, which I would say has been very positive in other aspects of my life too. So it's been a good balancing act. And I think that's just something that as an athlete and as somebody in career, as a leader, whatever your passions are, I think that's important to maintain, because at the end of the day, a happy athlete is a successful athlete. A happy person in their career is going to translate that throughout the office, and again, a proud and successful parent the same way.
Nick, thanks for sharing your story there, and how you prepare mentally for your bike races. I love some of the stuff that you talked about here. Again, you mentioned 5 a.m. wake up calls. Sometimes in order to get those 6 hour bike rides in, to train effectively, you need to wake up early. You talked about making sacrifices. You talked about your training, right? It's what are you doing when nobody else is watching, right? Everybody sees you performing on race day, but it's what you're doing to practice, right? So I love that you talked about that, and that certainly translates to success in the business world as well. So lots of fantastic stuff, Nick, that you shared. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to share your story, your journey, and everything that you do as a cyclist. I think your story is fantastic. Started as a hobby, and it is a lifestyle change and habit that's occurring with you right now. And it's helping develop some amazing traits and characteristics that are helping you become a better business leader as well. So, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Hey, absolutely. A great time. And yeah, it's nice when your hobby happens to also be conducive to a healthy lifestyle. It's one of the nice side effects, if you will. So appreciate you having me on, and happy to talk anytime.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nick.
Cheers.